Welcome to the most exciting coin discovery of your life. Today, we're diving into the mysterious and ultra-rare bicentennial coins. An ordinary-looking coin with the power to make you a millionaire overnight. If you've got this hidden gem in your pocket, your entire future could change in an instant. Let's unlock the secrets behind this legendary piece of treasure. When we talk about the 1994 D quarter dollar, we're holding not just a piece of metal, but a milestone in American numismatic history. The Washington Quarter Series, first issued in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth, was already a beloved staple in U.S. coinage long before the mid-1990s. By the time 1994 rolled around, the United States Mint had struck billions of quarters for circulation, but the year itself carries a quiet significance. It sits on the edge of a modern collector's landscape, where interest in coins shifted from simple pocket change to intentional collecting and investment. The Denver Mint, marked by its familiar D, produced this issue, and most examples entered everyday use, quickly being carried in wallets, jars, and register trays. For most people, the 1994 D quarter was a familiar face, exchanged thousands of times without a second thought. But tucked away in that huge mintage were a very small number of survivors that, through accident or deliberate saving, remained in remarkable shape, or in this case, in very dirty but original condition that hides immense collectible value. Understanding why the 1994 D quarter has become so sought after, even in very dirty condition, requires appreciating a shift in how collectors view condition and originality. For decades, numismatists prized clean, shiny coins, often polished or chemically brightened to appeal to the eye. But modern collectors now prize originality above all, even if that coin is soiled, stained, or crusted with years of circulation grime. A very dirty 1994 D isn't just a worn piece of change, it's a time capsule. The toning, fingerprints from generations of hands, oxidation, and patina all tell a story that cannot be recreated. When a 1994 D quarter surfaces today with that kind of original surface, even if grimy, it draws attention because most surviving coins have been handled, cleaned, or damaged in ways that destroy originality. The fact that these soiled survivors exist at all makes them a rarer category than many pristine coins, and rarity is the heartbeat of numismatic value. Another layer of fascination with the 1994 D quarter comes from its composition and place in U.S. coinage evolution. Washington quarters minted before 1965 were struck in 90% silver, giving them intrinsic metal value beyond face value. By 1994, the U.S. Mint had long since switched to a copper-nickel clad composition, a pure copper core sandwiched between layers of cupronickel. At first glance, this may seem less exciting than silver, but for collectors it represents the story of a nation's currency adapting to economic needs and material realities. The year 1994 sits well before the state quarter program of 1999 that revolutionized collecting, making it one of the last years where quarters were collected purely on traditional numismatic appeal rather than a themed release program. As such, quarters like the 1994 D are often overlooked by casual hobbyists, which adds to their intrigue among serious collectors who appreciate coins on the basis of history, composition, and survival rather than novelty or design marketing. In the marketplace today, a very dirty 1994 D quarter that nevertheless exhibits original surfaces and identifiable features can bring surprising values. While everyday examples traded in pocket change are still worth their face value, those that maintain originality, even if heavily soiled, have been known to command prices ranging from around $1,000 to $9,000 or more at auction or in private sales, depending on rarity, eye appeal, and especially on whether the coin has been certified by a respected grading service. These figures might seem staggering for a coin that most people walked past in a cashier's tray for years, but numismatics is a field where stories and scarcity outweigh face value. The upper end of this range is typically reserved for coins that have been authenticated by services like PeaceGS or NGC and graded with designations that acknowledge both originality and unaltered surfaces. Part of what fuels demand is the growing community of collectors who value historical authenticity over superficial shine. Many of these enthusiasts are not just hobbyists, but serious investors, studying mint records, survival estimates, and auction histories. For them, a 1994 D quarter in very dirty condition is a diamond in the rough, proof that not all valuable coins are gleaming and perfect. Collectors understand that grading standards matter enormously. A dirty coin might be dismissed in a casual sorting, but in the right hands, it can reveal crisp details on Washington's portrait, strong rim definition, and a level of originality that polished or cleaned coins lack. Certification becomes not just a validation of condition, but a story of provenance, making it easier to buy, sell, and trade with confidence. Collectors are advised to seek out communities, forums, and local coin clubs where they can learn from seasoned numismatists about spotting originality under grime, how to avoid cleaning mistakes, and how to navigate the grading process without damaging a coin's value. For those considering the 1994 D quarter, few coins spark the imagination of collectors quite like the 1995 D Washington quarter, especially when an unexpectedly valuable specimen surfaces in the most unlikely state, caked in grime and corrosion, yet hiding a treasure beneath. Struck at the Denver Mint during the era when the United States was still refining its identity in decimal coinage, this quarter belongs to a series that connects modern numismatics to a century-old legacy. Although most quarters from mid-1990s trade hand for pocket change, there exists a rare subset, muddied, worn, and far from shimmering, whose value transcends ordinary face value. In this video, we'll explore why a very dirty 1995 D quarter can ignite fervor among collectors, and why its story matters as a piece of American history. The Washington quarter itself was introduced in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. It became the official quarter design after overwhelming public demand, replacing the standing Liberty quarter. By 1995, the design had been in continuous circulation for over 6 decades, making it one of the most recognized coins in the United States. Though often overlooked in favor of older silver issues or special commemoratives, the 1995 quarters represent the enduring nature of decimal currency, a system the U.S. adopted over 2 centuries ago that divides the dollar into tenths and hundredths, a concept that was revolutionary in the 18th century and remains the standard today. When collectors speak of decimal coins, they're referring to coinage that directly reflects the decimal system, quarters being worth 1/4 of a dollar, pennies 1/100th, and so on. The Washington quarter is a direct descendant of this philosophy and serves as a tangible daily reminder of why the decimal system matters. While 1995 D quarter wasn't one of the very first decimal coins in U.S. history, it does belong to an era when coins transitioned entirely to base metal compositions, moving away from the silver content that defined earlier collectible quarters. This shift makes the 1995 coins significant. They represent the maturity of modern minting and mass circulation in the late 20th century. What's especially intriguing for today's collectors is how condition intersects with rarity. A very dirty coin, one that may be encrusted with soil, verdigris, or residue from long burial, typically isn't of interest to casual holders. But sometimes, beneath the grime, lies a specimen with strong strike detail, unique surface characteristics, or a preservation state that defies its outward appearance. In rare cases, such pieces can fetch remarkable prices precisely because they survived decades outside controlled environments. A 1995 D quarter thought to be ordinary can suddenly become extraordinary when cleaned by professionals or submitted for grading certification. Another piece of its allure is the copper-nickel composition. Unlike the silver quarters minted prior to 1965, quarters from 1965 onward, including all 1995 D examples, are composed primarily of copper with a cladding of nickel. This composition gives them durability and a specific weight and resonance that both beginners and seasoned numismatists immediately recognize. Although not traditionally valued for metal content, coins of this composition gain numismatic value through scarcity, collector demand, and condition rarity, all factors that buoy prices well above face value when exceptional examples are encountered. Market figures for standout specimens of the 1995 D quarter can vary greatly, but examples in unusual conditions have been known to command prices ranging from the low thousands to several times higher, depending on demand, certified grade, and provenance. At the high end, rare submissions have crossed thresholds that amaze both collectors and investors. What drives this phenomenon is not mere speculation, but a growing interest in completing modern-type sets, discovering hidden rarity in common dates, and celebrating the stories behind each coin. Such quarters become more than currency. They become artifacts that bridge everyday life and history. For those considering collecting or investing, there are several evergreen tips worth emphasizing. First, condition is everything. Even dirty coins should be evaluated for strike quality, surface integrity, and originality. Certification by reputable grading services like PeaceGS or NGC can dramatically influence a coin's market value and liquidity. Understanding grading standards, from wear levels to luster retention, and even how grime might hide or reveal details, is critical. Joining collector communities, attending coin shows, and engaging with experienced numismatists can sharpen your eye and your strategy, transforming dusty finds into centerpiece assets. Finally, beyond dollars and cents, the cultural symbolism of a coin like the 1995 D quarter is profound. It carries the image of Founding Father. It has passed through countless hands across decades, and it has weathered time in ways that pristine mint sets never will. Such coins have international appeal because they represent the United States' economic story and its global influence. As collectibles, they offer both long-term value appreciation and a direct connection to our collective past. Whether you're an investor, a history enthusiast, or someone who simply loves the thrill of discovery, this humble quarter, even in its dirtiest form, reminds us that treasures can be found where we least expect them. The 1979 D. Washington quarter is a fascinating piece of American numismatic history, even more so when found in very dirty or heavily worn condition. Struck at the Denver Mint, this coin carries with it the legacy of the long-standing Washington quarter series, which first debuted in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1979, the Washington quarter had become one of the most familiar coins in everyday U.S. circulation. But even common dates can hold surprising value when looked at through the right collector's lens. Despite the coin's humble denomination of just 25 cents, a 1979 D quarter in very poor condition, so worn that design details are nearly obliterated, can still catch the eye of seasoned collectors and investors who understand what makes certain coin issues special or desirable. From the standpoint of American coinage history, the Washington quarter series occupies a unique place because it represents a major shift away from earlier designs like the standing Liberty quarter. Although the decimal system was established with U.S. coinage in the late 18th century, the enduring Washington design, featuring Washington's profile on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse, became a mainstay for generations of Americans. The 1979 D issue came during a period of high mintages, yet it also appears at the tail end of an era before the introduction of modern clad compositions with heightened collector interest. Back in 1979, U.S. quarters were composed of a copper-nickel clad over a pure copper core, resulting in a rich, layered metallic structure that appeals to those who appreciate coins not just as currency, but as artifacts of metallurgy and manufacturing craftsmanship. What makes the 1979 D. Washington quarter particularly intriguing to collectors is how condition dramatically affects its value. Most surviving examples are heavily circulated, showing smooth surfaces and lost detail from decades of handling. Exactly the sort of very dirty condition that would normally consign a coin to the realm of pocket change. However, there remains a dedicated niche within numismatics that values such worn coins for their historical journey. An example marked very poor or fair might still command a premium well beyond face value because it tells a story of extended everyday use, and because certified Authenticated examples in such grades are surprisingly scarce relative to raw worn pieces. Rare examples of 1979 D quarters in very fine or higher condition underscore just how large the gap can be between common and collectible. Professional grading services like PieceGS and NGC use stringent standards to evaluate strike quality, surface preservation, and overall eye appeal. A 1979 D quarter graded very fine VF preserves moderate detail on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, a dramatic contrast to the almost featureless surfaces of those in very dirty, poor condition. Such certified higher-grade pieces can trade hands for figures that range from around $1,000 on the low end to $9,000 or more for truly exceptional specimens, depending on market trends, collector demand, and the presence of desirable dye varieties or luster. Investors and collectors alike are drawn to the 1979 D quarter not simply for its antiquity, but for its latent investment potential. In recent years, as treasure hunters and numismatists search through old collections, estates, and hoards, coins once dismissed as everyday pocket change have attracted renewed attention. The fact that a worn 1979 D quarter can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, especially when authenticated and graded, speaks to the broader cultural renaissance in coin collecting. Many see these coins as more than metal. They are tangible connections to the past, and for some, sound additions to diversified investment portfolios that include rare and collectible coins. For collectors considering adding a 1979 D Washington quarter to their collection, focusing on condition and certification is essential. Always seek coins that have been graded by reputable third-party services, understanding that the grading scale, from poor, P1, through mint state, MS70, is a reflection of surface preservation and detail rather than simply visual appeal. Joining collector communities, whether through local coin clubs, online forums, or national organizations like the American Numismatic Association, can provide invaluable insights into spotting high-quality pieces, understanding market dynamics, and networking with other enthusiasts who share a passion for historical coinage. Seasoned collectors advise newcomers to handle coins carefully, avoid cleaning them, which can destroy value, and to learn the subtleties of strike and planchet variations that can elevate a common date into a standout piece. Beyond market value and collecting strategy, the 1979 D Washington quarter holds deep cultural symbolism. It stands as a reminder of the enduring legacy of George Washington and the democratic ideals the United States was founded upon. Each scratch, worn rim, and faded detail on a well-used quarter narrates the countless hands it has passed through, from vending machines to tip jars to cash registers, a silent witness to the everyday life of a nation. International collectors are drawn to such coins not only for their rarity, but as emblems of American history and economic evolution, appealing to those who appreciate numismatics as a global hobby that transcends borders. Ultimately, the long-term value appreciation of a 1979 D Washington quarter, particularly one authenticated and graded, reflects broader trends in numismatic investment and cultural appreciation. As interest in coins from the late 20th century continues to grow, driven by both seasoned collectors and a new generation discovering the hobby, pieces like this quarter will likely retain their allure. Whether housed in a protective holder in a collector's album or displayed proudly in a case, the 1979 D quarter remains a testament to the rich tapestry of American coinage and a compelling piece for anyone interested in the intersection of history, art, and value. The 1967 D quarter dollar occupies a fascinating place in the story of American coinage. But to understand its value and appeal, we first need to travel back to the 1960s, a decade when the United States was transitioning its money in response to changing economic realities. Historically, the 1967 quarter emerged at a time when the nation was still minting coins with high silver content, yet demand for pocket change was rising sharply due to everyday spending and hoarding. The Denver Mint, represented by the D on the coin, produced millions of these quarters, yet those surviving today in very dirty, heavily worn condition are seldom appreciated for the treasure they hold beneath the grime. Unlike earlier 90% silver quarters, the 1967 series was struck in a clad composition, sandwiching a pure copper core between outer layers of cupronickel. But even this more common metal mix does nothing to diminish the historical weight these pieces carry as reminders of an era just before the coinage reforms of the 1970s. The significance of the 1967 D quarter is deeply rooted in its place in the evolution of U.S. currency. While not among the very first decimal coins minted in U.S. history, that honor belongs to the late 18th century. The quarter dollar itself is a hallmark of America's embrace of the decimal monetary system. In an age when the country was still solidifying its identity through symbols on money, the quarter became a lunchtime staple in every diner and jukebox across the country, and its Denver variant represented the nation's expanding reach westward and its industrial might. Collectors today prize these coins not because of precious metal content, but because they tell a story of everyday America, the change that built commerce, funded pay phones, and filled piggy banks nationwide. Even in dirty condition, a 1967 D quarter is a piece of that living history. For many collectors, condition is everything, which makes the discovery of a 1967 D quarter in very dirty condition unexpectedly thrilling. Dirt and work can mask the original luster and fine detail, but such a coin still carries the unmistakable design elements. George Washington's dignified profile and the eagle with outstretched wings, a symbol of strength and vigilance. When conserved properly, even a grimy example can reveal striking features that hint at its former life. More importantly, rare survivors and lower grades remind us why grading standards exist in the first place. Coins are evaluated on strike quality, surface preservation, and eye appeal, and even a worn coin with excellent detail and minimal damage can attract attention from serious collectors. That growing demand, fueled by international interest in U.S. numismatics, has helped raise the profile and market value of coins once dismissed as common pocket change. Uncommonly, some 1967 D quarters have been documented trading hands in the upper echelons of the coin market, with certified examples commanding anywhere from around $1,000 to as much as $9,000 or more, depending on rarity, historical provenance, and collector enthusiasm. These values especially come into play when a specimen has been authenticated and graded by reputable services like PeaceGS or NGC, which assign a numerical grade to the coin's condition. For a coin struck in 1967, a relatively recent date compared to 19th century issues, these values might seem astronomical. Yet this reflects three factors converging: the nostalgia of baby boomer and Gen X collectors seeking to own a piece of their youth, the scarcity of high-grade survivors, and a sharp increase in interest from global numismatic investors who view significant American coins as a store of wealth not tied to volatile markets. Investment potential for historic coins like the 1967 D quarter rests not on guaranteed returns, but on informed strategy and deep appreciation for the patterns of the hobby. Unlike bullion, which trades on metal content alone, numismatic coins have value tied to rarity, condition, and collector demand. A seasoned investor might emphasize certification as the first step. Having a dirty coin cleaned only by professionals and then submitted to a grading service can dramatically influence its market position. Collectors should be wary of improper cleaning, which can irreparably damage a coin's surface and destroy value. Understanding market trends, participating in auctions, and watching population reports, which tell how many of a particular coin exist at each grade level, are also crucial elements in building a meaningful collection that could appreciate over time. For those just entering this world, joining numismatic communities, whether local coin clubs, online forums, or attending coin shows, provides both education and camaraderie. Seasoned hobbyists are often generous with knowledge about spotting promising coins in pocket change, the subtleties of grading, and how to read between the lines of auction catalogs. In these communities, collectors share stories of finding 1967 D quarters and rolls of change, the thrill of uncovering a hidden gem beneath decades of dirt, and the shared excitement when a prized specimen is finally authenticated. This social dimension adds depth to collecting, transforming what could be a solitary pursuit into a lifelong passion filled with friendships and shared discoveries. Yet beyond dollars and cents, the 1967 D quarter holds cultural symbolism that resonates with people across generations and borders. As an artifact of mid-20th century America, it speaks to the ordinary rhythms of life, the quarter that paid for a soda, a bus ride, or a call from a payphone. International collectors are drawn to U.S. coins for their iconic designs and the narrative they carry about American history and influence in the post-World War II world. In markets from Europe to Asia, a well-graded 1967 D quarter commands respect not merely as currency from a distant land, but as a tangible piece of a shared global story of economic development and cultural exchange. Long-term value appreciation in numismatics is never guaranteed, yet coins with strong historical context, limited high-grade survivors, and passionate collector communities tend to outperform more common issues. The 1967 D quarter straddles both the everyday and the exceptional, making it appealing to both novice collectors seeking accessible pieces and seasoned investors looking for niche opportunities. As interest in U.S. coinage continues to grow worldwide, and as more collectors learn to appreciate the deep stories behind even the most unassuming coins, the 1967 D quarter will likely continue its journey from pocket change to prized centerpiece, an enduring symbol of history, culture, and the human impulse to preserve our past for future generations.